Previously on Make Cool Shit.
Josh Rubin, one of the funniest people you've never heard of.
It's crazy that Josh is not a household name yet.
Everybody wants to work with them.
I auditioned for 30 Rock, didn't get that. Saturday Night Live, didn't get that. Dreams is hard.
When you create your own opportunities, you're going to have a much better shot of success.
I want to make a horror movie. Something that people respond to the way that Get Out did.
So Josh is going to leave comfort behind and make a real deal feature film. Holy shit.
Hosted by Aaron Chiefitz. This is Make Cool Shit.
This episode is all about putting the team together. In fact, Josh got his start being at the center of a pretty tight-knit team called College Humor.
Josh Rubin is my soul brother. So talented as a performer that he inspires me as a writer and director.
That's Sam Reich, the head of original content for College Humor, but really the guy that took College Humor from being a message board to a powerhouse in the world of online sketch comedy. They were doing everything seat of your pants, DIY, punk rock kind of vibe. And the way he did that was bringing along people that he really loved and trusted. People like Josh. They're a family. And part of that College Humor family is Brendan Banks, Josh's go-to cinematographer or director of photography. According to the handbook, the cinematographer composes the shots, plans the camera movements, and decides how to light scenes, usually in consultation with the director.
I'm Brendan Banks. I'm the cinematographer and co-producer of the film Scare Me. I went to school up in the Bronx for something totally unrelated, but I'd always made videos, whether it was skate videos, fake horror films when I was a kid, stuff like that. I always managed to be around people with far better taste than I had.
Brendan Banks was my intern.
Yeah, I totally remember on my first day I was chatting with Josh and he was like, what do you want to do, And at that moment I was just really interested in shooting.
He's like, actually I wanna just shoot. He shot a lot of College Humor sketches and did some Jake and Amir stuff.
You want to rap battle me? I thought you'd never ask. Drop a beat. A beat, a box, a beat box. Look at your socks. What's up, Doc? The laughing. Ooh, you suck. Why are you not wearing underwear? Your dick is small. I didn't say your dick was small.
I've had a very different path, jumping from camera, and then it was directing, and then it was editing, and then it was producing, and then found my way back to shooting again. Ever since that, I was like, okay, I'm going to put in at least 5 to 10 years at just this. I'm not going to jump around anymore.
The way we started working together on passion project stuff was he said, hey, I want to throw some of my DP cash towards doing a short film.
We did 2 shorts together, actually, fully self-funded, 50-50, right down the middle.
One of those passion project collaborations was a Star Wars fan film titled TK630, directed by Brendan Banks and starring Josh.
TK630 reporting in. Grid 1138 clear. Rebel pursuit neutralized.
Marooned on a desert planet, one Imperial scout trooper hunts a lone Jedi when he discovers an unexpected ally. And Star Wars fans went kind of nuts for it.
And I said, hell, I'm looking for a director DP who edits to make something. I'll write something. He says, good, I don't really write as much. Why don't you pop something out that day. We both wanted to make a movie, even if it's going to be like both of us taking turns holding the boom and skirting unions and just doing it.
And 2 people who are on board with that philosophy are Josh's managers. They're the ones who at the very beginning were encouraging him to take the plunge.
Hey, what's up?
That's Donnie Dykowski, producer of this podcast. You'll learn more about him later. Meeting with Josh's managers, Brian Steinberg and Tucker Voorhees. They're an adorable management comedic duo. These 2 just get along.
Good to see you. Tucker. In the house. How you doing? Good to meet you. Nice to meet you. I wound up at a management company as a manager, which is insane because I had no idea what I was doing.
That's Brian Steinberg. He's the guy that was cheering Josh on. He's got his back.
I got an internship with Robert Redford and just kind of faked it till I'm still faking it.
That's Tucker Voorhees, also Josh Rubin's manager.
I signed a bunch of these UCB guys and no one really knew what to do with them. And, it was kind of really early days.
UCB was a comedy group that started in Chicago, comprised of Amy Poehler and 3 other dudes. And they moved to New York and they opened a school to teach other people how to do sketch and improv. It was a big scene in New York. And it was a scene that both I and Josh were intimately involved in.
And I'd become friendly with Peter Principato, who we had very similar taste. We both had people testing for The Daily Show for correspondent roles, and I had 2 people get it, and his 2 didn't, and I think that put me on his radar in a bigger way. He hired me.
Peter Principato is the CEO of Josh's management company, Artists First. They're a big deal in managing talented people. They've got some smaller people, like Josh, who are emerging artists, as they say. People who don't have a name yet, but they're betting will. But they also represent Jordan Peele, Ed Helms, Kate McKinnon, Awkwafina, and John Travolta.
I studied filmmaking in school, and I had made this little movie called Blackballed. We won the Audience Award at South by Southwest in 2004, and I kind of went back to Peter, and I was like, I think I need to try this filmmaking thing. And he was like, yeah, totally get it. He was so cool about it. So I left for 5 years, and I did everything. I did everything you could think of in entertainment, writing, producing, directing. I did casting. I did it was great. That was my grad school for 5 years.
I was a manager at 3 Arts Entertainment, which is a very good management company. And when I got to New York, Brian had just gone off to produce a movie, and I came in and signed a bunch of his clients.
That's true. So I called Peter one day, and I was like, I think I'm coming back, and he's like, cool. Can you start Monday? That was March 2nd, 2009. Yeah, then I met Tucker probably my first day there.
Well, we had
hung
out
we
before.
Knew each other already. Yeah,
we get along.
We've finished each other's sentences. It's fine.
And then we finish each other's sentences. We have very similar comedy tastes.
Don't stare into my eyes when you say that, you bastard.
I've seen Ghostbusters probably 150 times.
The Paul Feig one.
I saw it. Yeah, the Paul Feig one.
The right manager can be hugely important for an artist's career. They're helping you navigate where you want your career to head and how to take steps in that direction. In the case of Brian and Tucker, they were advocating, stop making commercials, take some time, get your shit together, and really make the next leap.
I'd read Mark and J. Duplass's book about making movies, like Brothers. Great thing about my manager and about this book is that they were stop taking meetings, pick up a fucking camera, and just make something.
Before there was even a script, Tucker and I talked to Josh and said, we want to produce this with you, meaning, in this case, let us help you find the money, cast deals, and make sure we're getting those right. Let us help you find the other producers, because there's a level of communication when you're a producer on a project that you don't always get when you're just the person's rep, because sometimes they see you as an outsider or the enemy or something. And I think when you are a producer, you're part of the creative process.
According to the handbook, actually nothing. The handbook doesn't talk much about managers at all. They're part cheerleader, part business resource, part negotiating partner, and part just your friend.
It's his first feature. Our job is to make sure not only does he have a vision that we think is exciting and new and fresh and has a point of view, but also to then, once he gets in that zone, to make sure that he's insulated from anything going on outside that would distract him from the goal.
One of the ways Tucker and Brian can best help Josh is to get people interested in his movie. And not just any people he'd want on his team. In order to do that, they need an exciting copy of the screenplay. According to the handbook, the reader should experience the movie as it will play on the screen and not be burdened with the mechanics of how it's put together. Josh apparently took that to heart because he created a recording where he reads every single character. And it's kinda great. You get the sense from it not only of what's going to happen, but how fun it's going to feel. That is a killer tool for getting people interested.
I can't tell y'all much about it, writer code and all. Let me out! Fuck off. You want to have my life, Fred? Shut the fuck up and do the work. Scare me, motherfucker! Kill all your mothers, kill all your children, and kill yourselves. And the werewolf whips his head towards the commotion. And the werewolf jumps out the window.
So Brian and Tucker start making their calls, and Josh hits the bricks, taking his screenplay to different production companies around town. It's rough out there for somebody who's not an A-list celebrity to get their movie made. They want a production company to help figure out the money and also to start the process of crewing up your whole production.
The interesting thing about meeting production companies, come out and pitch us a few ideas, and the same thing happens every time at every one of these meetings, which is you meet them, you have an Avion, you trade a few jokes, say, well, if you have any ideas, send them along at any state, in any primordial state, and we can get something going, and you never hear from them again.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing people complain about when they are successful. Bullshit. That would be great. Give me that Avion. Let me waste my time in some nice executive's office pretending like they're going to deal with me. It would be great.
We got a bunch of passes from a bunch of random companies, Bow and Arrow and Magnolia and Blumhouse, which would have been rad.
But one production company that Tucker and Brian have an in at is Irony Point. They produce sketch shows like Inside Amy Schumer, Astronomy Club, I Think You Should Leave, The Break with Michelle Wolf, a ton of comedy stuff.
My name is Daniel Powell. I'm the president of Irony Point. It's like I'm the president of like 4 people. It's such a dumb title.
I'm Alex Bach. I'm head of production and a partner at Irony Point, and I am a producer.
According to the handbook, a producer is responsible for the budget and overall production, and they can hire and fire personnel.
I kind of came up through UCB. I don't really think of myself as a very funny person. I think I have a good taste in comedy, and I feel like I've always been a good straight man, so like...
Who else was on your team, though? You had some people who became big names in comedy, right?
When I was there, it was like Rob Corddry, who I got to work with on The Daily Show, Rob Riggle, Jason Mantzoukas, Rob Hubel, Paul Scheer, and, you know, of course, Amy Poehler was always around, and Tina Fey was kind of hanging around during the Sunday night shows.
After college, somehow, like a friend of a friend sent me a listserv posting for somebody looking for interns for a Bollywood film that was shooting in New York. In retrospect, it was just insane. I don't know how they got away with any of the stuff they did.
I was a development executive at Comedy Central for a number of years. At the tail end of Inside Amy Schumer, which I produced, I realized like I never really got around to working in independent film, and so I went off and made a little indie movie called Bex, and Alex produced it, and that's how I met Alex, because I needed someone who could produce a feature film for under $500,000.
Bex was a movie back in 2017 that had Alex Bach as a producer, Dan Powell and Elizabeth Rohrbeck as co-directors, and this amazing improviser named Becky Drysdale as co-writer. Remember that last name. Here's Elizabeth Rohrbeck when Bex won Best U.S. Fiction at the LA Film Festival.
Holy moly. I am so stunned, and I loved making this film. The whole thing's a crazy dream. Dan Powell, he's a dear friend and wonderful creative partner, and I recommend everyone get one. It's great to work with someone who believes in you and who you believe in.
After we finished the movie, we partnered up and started Irony Point.
The irony of my working at Irony Point is I am not funny. I am not in comedy. I'm just like a person who happens to be surrounded by comedians and people who work in comedy all the time.
This script came across our desk, and his manager, Brian Steinberg at Artists First, essentially said, look, Josh is really, really passionate about making this film. We feel like we can do it at a low enough price point that we are just going to assume that we're going to be able to get the money together, and we're just going to proceed confidently with pre-production. So it was just one of those things where even before the money was lined up, we just all sort of made a collective decision that we're going to make it kind of come hell or high water.
Irony Point is going to do something that truly so rarely happens. They're going to take a big gamble on Josh's pipe dream movie. A horror comedy with a message that showcases his talent and they can make on a shoestring budget.
Dan is super professional. He knows what he's doing. That's great. Alex is super professional. She knows what she's doing. They sound like people who want to make a good movie and to be there for you. And at a certain point, we just have to trust people, and they seem like the right people to trust.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't a whole lot of other production companies who are so open and generous and have the reputation they do.
We came on to this project because it's a simple script. There's 4 cast members, 1 location. That makes it very shootable and very production friendly. Having said that, it also means that this entire film rests on the performances.
This entire film rests on the performances. When we come back from the break, casting. According to the handbook, casting is vital. Finding actors who are not just right for their roles, but who also work well as an ensemble can make all the difference. If the casting is good, the director's job is enormously easier. If the casting is bad, a great script and director may not be able to save the project. Now, there are only 4 roles in this movie. Fred, an insecure, aspiring writer. Fanny, an actual successful writer who's really sharp and takes no shit and loves scary stories. Bettina, a chatty Uber driver in this small town. And Carlo, a pizza delivery guy who's very upbeat and weirdly game for anything. And Josh is playing Fred. So each of the other 3 actors is going to have to bring a ton to the table. So Josh starts thinking about his dream casting for each role.
Okay, dream cast. Aya Cash, who's fucking amazing, and You're the Worst. And I did an episode with her, which is insane.
Kristen Milioti was someone who was being considered. Tatiana Maslany, another person who was a big part of the conversation. You're talking about a strong female lead in like a more human way.
According to the handbook, many stars have been known to appear in low-budget films if the script is good and the number of days required is small. For Bettina, it's a smaller role, which means fewer shoot days, which means they could really swing for the fences. They could potentially get somebody big.
Bettina's such a rad part. I mean, you can get like a character actor. She comes in, we give her some bad teeth. I just don't want to go young. I don't want to go like, young comedian. Marilyn Rashka, am I saying that right? Well, she might be a little young. Alex Borstein from Mrs. Maisel. You get her for 2 days. She's incredible. She was in Mad TV. That would be out of control.
Part of the appeal of doing a smaller indie movie for an established actor is the chance to do something that's not what they're established for, to branch out, move in new directions. An indie movie is a chance for everybody to try something new. It's a risk.
Carlo should be, Karan Sani was recommended from Blunt Talk. Charles Baker from Breaking Bad. The actor we're hoping to get is Chris Redd from Saturday Night Live.
Good sex creates a wet spot. And if you're a strategic man, you have sex on her side so you sleep dry. And if you're a real woman, you make him switch because you run this. And if y'all a power couple, you have sex on the couch and make your friends deal with that juice.
Chris Redd is at the same management company, Artist First, as Josh, and so that's how they were able to reach out to him, and he was very enthusiastic about it.
We had a lunch meeting in Harlem, and he walked in. He didn't even take his coat off before I introduced myself, that he was saying, "I love this part, man. I love this movie. I think it's so funny," and he's sitting down. I hope it all works out. It's a scheduling thing.
It's a scheduling thing is something people say as an excuse to let you down easy. Of course, the reason why it's a good excuse is that it often is just a scheduling thing. People are busy, and they'd love to do your little project, but they wouldn't love to do it more than a big-time paying gig. So it can be hard to know which kind of it's a scheduling thing we're talking about.
You have to take what everybody says, especially reps, with a grain of salt, because it's like they've got shit juggling in the air that they don't clue everyone else in on. You have to just get the information from all sides.
But it seems like Chris is genuinely interested. If he can get Chris Redd, that is huge for him. They're starting to pick up momentum, and they get some more good news.
It looks like Alex Borstein's agents say that she's available. We're basically just waiting to hear if Alex Borstein, who's so fucking funny, would be interested in cameoing in this little movie.
Now, it's not like they're just chasing the biggest name they can possibly get for each role. That's not the case. Every actor has their own vibe, and there's a really specific vibe they want for this Bettina character. So Josh decides to pull out all the stops.
I actually slid into Will Sasso's DMs. Will and I did this dope series on College Humor years ago called The Britishes.
Mr. Squint, his lordship has had the poop dream again. Please change his sheets at once.
Do I have time to fetch my gloves, sir?
No.
Very good. He and Alex Borstein were very tight. He's put in a good word. So crossing them thingies towns.
And while they're figuring that out, they book their first cast member. In the role of Fanny, Aya Cash.
Once I got a commitment from Aya, that made it all the more real. She was about to finish up You're the Worst. She had some cool articles out about wanting challenging roles that didn't put her in a bathing suit and having graphic sex.
Aya Cash is Josh's dream for this part. It's kind of who he was picturing all along. But it doesn't hurt that she's also really famous and talented. Like, she was the star of You're the Worst, and she was in Wolf of Wall Street, and she has this huge role on The Boys on Amazon.
I've done enough small independent movies to know what the deal is, and you only sign up for those things when you really love a script or you really love a character.
So they had been talking about it, and she had, shown excitement. And frankly, her commitment to doing it was one of the reasons that we just sort of barreled forward, because she had a schedule and she had a window of time that she could do it. And so part of it was like, look, if we're going to do this with Aya, we just have to make it now, and we have to kind of rush to get it all together.
So this was something he just came to me with, and he was like, hey, would you do this? And I thought, oh yeah.
I knew that I wanted a vehicle for her to do fun, ridiculous shit that she probably wouldn't have been asked to do on, a sitcom or the other indies she'd done even, to play ugly and to do voices and this, that, and the other thing.
So, pending scheduling, that's one cast member locked in. Where are we on the Bettina role?
We're waiting to hear back from Alex.
There is a little hiccup there.
All right, so we got word that Alex lives in Barcelona, and I think if we flew her first class, it would be like $5,000, which would be impossible.
Then they get some big news. Chris Redd's people come back to them. It's a yes. His schedule works. It wasn't bullshit. He's in. An Emmy Award-winning actor from a hit show, not just any hit show, the hit show that is every sketch comedian's dream. And yet, Chris Redd is psyched.
I wanted to find a character that hadn't been seen that much, if not at all, in a movie, especially like that. I like innocent seeming people who have a dark part of them. At the end of the day, just maniacs. I just crazy people.
That's 2 roles cast, 1 more to go. The last puzzle piece is Bettina, and we're still waiting to hear back from Alex.
We're now a few weeks out from shooting, and we don't have a Bettina, and we're starting with Bettina. So,
is it the plane ticket? $5,000, it's not a small amount of money, but Dan Powell at Irony Point says, if she says yes, we'll find it. Dan Powell seems like a great guy to have around. So, they've had their hiccups, but it looks like the stars are aligning. Until...
we didn't get Alex Borstein to play Bettina, which really sucks. Here's what I'm learning about the casting shit is available doesn't necessarily mean interested. She's not available. Rather, she is available, but she's passing. She's not interested.
Must have been that other kind of scheduling thing.
Hasn't quite completely sunk in yet.
Maybe it's a good thing it hasn't totally sunk in for Josh, because I know if it had totally sunk in for me, that I was about to risk my life savings and every favor anyone had ever owed me on something I had just written and don't have one of my principal actors for. Yeah, that might make me a little nervous. They've got to find somebody great who fits the role and, by some miracle, is also willing to do their schedule.
I'm running out of options. Oh, man. Fuck.